attainable. You just got to get yourself to an event and then get moving in terms of getting to a club and trying it out. But yeah, in Africa, there's a lot of polo.
In other sporting codes, there's continental spectacles. For an example, in football, the Africa Cup of Nations, where about 24 nations on the African continent meet in one country or sometimes in 3 countries, like it will be the case in 2027 in East Africa, where 3 countries will co-host. But the point here is you get African countries competing. Do we have the same when it comes to polo?
No, it's very difficult to compete with multiple countries in an event at once, simply because of the logistics of the horses. Like we said, when the Argentinians come here, there's a baseline of about 100 to 150 horses they choose from. So to have 100 to 150 suitable top quality horses for all those countries, it's never going to happen. It's just logistically impossible, and we don't have that many amount of quality horses. So we have one country at a time, and the rest of the nations, even America and England and the more established polo countries, Argentina, they will only have one nation playing against them at a time.
With one nation at a time, who are some of the African countries that South Africa got to play against before, and how did it go?
We've played against Argentina. We've played, not African nations, sorry. We've played against Zambia. I actually played in one of those games, and we beat them. Actually, I can't remember the score. I think we beat them by 1 or 2 goals. We've played against Ghana. We've played against Nigeria. We yet to play against Egypt. I know there's been social-friendly games played against them, but nothing where we've represented the country. Yes, Zimbabwe, we haven't played against them. But yeah, it would be great to compete against them.
Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda, as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning.
A great pool of athletes who can compete on a competitive level. What is the situation when it comes to juniors? Have you established the sport in schools so that your current elite athletes, when they bow out and they decide to secede between themselves and their horses, then you've got a pool of young up-and-coming athletes who can fill up those gaps? What's the real situation out there?
Well, this is where Nedbank come into it. So we have a number of programs where we are trying to encourage younger, more talented up-and-coming players to join the sports and come and play. And without Nedbank, this wouldn't have been possible, Those programs in terms of getting children who it's not unattainable to, getting them onto horses and getting them going. And it's actually been quite amazing just to see these children progress and move through the ranks and, get to the top levels. It's been spectacular.
If you have just joined us, a very warm welcome to Africa at Play. We are talking about the sport of polo, which is a sport about an athlete uniting with a horse. And of course, the competition can only be between the 2 teams because of the logistics around the sport that involves a big number of horses that the participants have to choose from. So you can never have a situation of more than 2 competitors. It's always one country versus the other, or one team versus the other. And we are talking to the South African Polo President, the President of the South African Polo Association, Mr. Guy Slater, who is informing and educating us on this exciting sport. Mr. Slater, talk to us about the future of the sport. What's coming up next, having noticed that the International Polo event is an annual event?
Yes, it is an annual event. However, we have a lot of internal games being played. And this coming weekend, up on the Househelt, we have South African Championships, which is basically all the top playing polo teams in the country, vying for the top spot to see who's the best team in the country. And that'll be incredibly interesting to watch, to see who takes that top position. It'll be played at East Rand Polo Club, and the setting's amazing. I would suggest if anyone's interested, get yourself across to East Rand Polo Club, Google it, have a look at it on the internet, and get yourself in and go and enjoy the day. It'll be an amazing day.
14:17 Central African Time. If you have just joined us, a warm welcome to Africa at Play. We are talking about the sport of polo, which is about horses and athletes. And to help us understand more about the sport is the president of the South African Polo Association, Mr. Guy Slater. Mr. Slater, sport is not just about entertainment and competition, but sport is a business too. When talking polo as a business, what are we talking about?
Well, obviously, there's a lot of people that are employed through the circles of polo. We've got a lot of grooms who not only work, but I mean, we have a lot of, and look after the horses. And let me tell you, there's some incredible grooms. They also make it into the higher ranks of polo and go and play at some of the higher levels. So that's good. And then obviously, there's a lot of professionals who produce incredibly good horses, and we end up selling horses to other countries to improve their polo. You know, we are just fortunate enough to have a really good racing industry in South Africa, where we draw down all our.
Mr. Slater, are you there? It looks like we're having issues with that line from Mr. Slater, who is the president of South African Polo Association, and we're talking about the sport of polo, which is about a horse uniting with the athlete, and the whole point is to have a good communication and relationship with your horse as you compete against the other team. Recently, South Africa played against Argentina, and Mr. Slater highlighted that Argentina, it is a powerhouse indeed when looking at the sport globally. Mr. Slater, are you still there? We've lost that line from Mr. Slater, but nevertheless, we got the gist of what the sport of polo is all about. 14:20 Central African Time. The Yuga Boys are taking us to the dance floor, and they're saying Gologosa featuring Tyra Chanti. This is Africa at Play.
Play with Neto and Neto Chemane.
Holy Ghost fire, Holy Ghost fire, Holy Ghost fire, Holy Ghost fire. Sinan Cindy, Sinan Vinci, Mopado Misha. Oh, Ulisenge Dala, don't wake up, Mazima. Holy Ghost fire.
Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. We get on the move with Palisa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tepu Kholikweleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tame Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joël Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa, and it's the only international station. Find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us that speaks to Africa in its own voices. English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that you some life. Zochitika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some Lucifer knowledge. Kalodiscopia, 9 till 10. We take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana, 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones, on air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine, 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda, as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palisa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till
Our website, click on programs and search for Africa at Play. At the bottom right screen of Africa at Play, you can click on more to listen to those conversations when you have time to do so. Please do get in touch with us on our different social media platforms. On Instagram and X is at Channel Africa 1, and on Facebook, the name of our station, Channel Africa. Let's now welcome to Africa at Play, Sam Mpoza, our correspondent from East Africa in Kampala, Uganda. Sam Mpoza, good afternoon and a warm welcome to Africa at Play. Happy Africa Day.
Good afternoon, my brother Neto Chemane. I'm happy to be part of the show this very bright weekend.
Thank you so much indeed for joining us. 2025 is a big year for Ugandan athletics, reaching a century of existence. 100 years is indeed not a child's play. Happy 100th year to Ugandan athletics, and this is our Africa Day, Africa Month conversation. Talk to us about this milestone.
Well, it's a big milestone for athletics in the country, and it's also a big milestone for the federation, which is Uganda Athletics. Of course, they marked out a whole year with the different events that will mark the celebrations. They started out with in January, and they hope to do a lot of activities to ensure that this year, the celebration is felt. Of course, this is second federation celebrating 100 years in 2 years' time, because FUFA, the Federation of Uganda Football Association, also had their celebrations of 100 years last year, and this year we have UAF. So, Uganda Athletics, it's called Uganda Athletics. So, it's a big thing for athletics in the country, and it's a big thing for Uganda. And of course, no wonder, as we speak today, many athletes are now competing for international medals. Gold medals on the international scene. It's the time that Uganda is blossoming in terms of athletics in the world, with many athletes winning a gold medal in different events world records being broken by Ugandan athletes. So no wonder 100 years, and I think athletics has come of age in Uganda, and I think also in the region as East Africa.
Sempoza, although you and I were not there when it all began 100 years ago, but we've witnessed what we've witnessed in the years we've been blessed with life to be part of the world of sport, especially on the African continent. When you zoom into the space of Uganda athletics, yes, there's quite a number of international athletics that are continuing to represent Uganda well on the world stage. But let's talk about areas of improvement. What is it that you believe still needs to be worked on so that Uganda can do more than what it has produced so far?
Well, the problem for sports remains standard. And of course, we have talked about this several times, time and again, on this show, and that is infrastructure and funding. For talent, Africa is well endowed. We have talent all over Africa and in Uganda in particular. We have so many people who can do athletics, people who can run from the different regions. You see, Uganda now is divided into two main regions, because we have the eastern region where we have the long distance runners who come from the mountain Elgon areas. And that is 3 districts that form that zone where all the long-distance runners come from. There is a district called Kapchora, there's a district called Kwen, and the Buko. Those are the districts that are neighboring Kenya, on the border of Uganda and Kenya, in the eastern part of Uganda. Now, that side, we know we have athletes who can do long distance. And then the rest of the country, we have athletes who can do short distance and field events. But now the problem is, much as we have good talent that can do wonders, but we don't have infrastructure. We don't have facilities to enable these talents to grow and probably bring out the best of what we expect of them. So and of course the whole thing goes back to funding. We have enough money to fund infrastructure development. The money is not there. Then, of course, when you don't have money to put in place infrastructures, and then that of course grows into the problem of talent development. So, the few guys who actually break through the barriers and make it, of course, have to work hard, and some of them have to move out of the country and go to probably other parts of the world. Like we have now a very good sprinter called Tassis or Got. This guy, of course, studied in Uganda for some time. When we discovered he had a very good talent, I think he was spotted by some university in USA, and then he went to USA. That's where he was able to nurture his talent, and then we can now be proud of him. But most of the work on him has been done in USA, not in Uganda. So, of course, you see that. And now we are lucky that Tassis has not probably changed nationality to become a national of USA. And, of course, many African countries have fallen prey to that, because many African athletes have taken up nationalities of other countries that can be able to nurture their talent and, of course, represent them. So what we need to do is increase funding for athletics, and then if there's enough funding, then we can have the infrastructure, that is facilities, the stadium and training facilities and competing facilities where athletes can compete from, and then later we can have good athletes. Because when you look at the whole country, we only have Mandela National Stadium that has the standards to qualify athletes for international events. So all the athletes in the country have to come to Mandela National Stadium. And you can imagine now, for athletes who are starting, they don't have money, they don't have money to travel to Mandela National Stadium, even money to facilitate their training at the grassroots level. That means they will die there. They will not be able to come up. it's only for a few who probably go to schools or who have a chance to interact with club enrichment who can probably sponsor them. And because, of course, even then we don't have even clubs. We don't have good clubs in Uganda. Most of the clubs we have for athletics, one is for UPDF, that is the army, and the other one is for police and Uganda prisons. Those are government organizations. So if we don't have a chance to be part of them, break through into Uganda Police, Uganda People's Defense Forces, and Uganda prisons, then you don't have a club. And of course, even these clubs can take in just so much of athletes. So, but we have a population of 40 million people. Out of 40 million people, maybe 20,000 Ugandans want to do athletics, but UPDF, police, and Uganda prisons can only take in probably like 400 athletes. So where will the rest go? And all schools are doing athletics. So after school, where are these young people going? So that is, I think, the problem. But if we have funding and then facilities, Uganda athletics can go miles.
14:33 Central African Time. We are celebrating 100 years, a century, if you like, of existence of Uganda athletics. And we're talking to Sam Mpoza, our correspondent based in Kampala, Uganda. Thank you for choosing Africa at Play as Deleli Siashaya. Mr. Mpoza, the issue of lack of infrastructure and facilities has been on the table for plenty number of years. And you talk about if funding can be increased, this issue will be able to be resolved. But let's talk about the conversations that are taking place between the mother body of athletics, Uganda Athletics, the government through the sport ministry, the companies, the corporate world that are operating in Uganda, and the universities that have facilities that can also include facilities like the high performance, which has shown to be producing results when it comes to elevating or intensifying the preparations of athletes for continental and global spectacles. Are these stakeholders having the relevant conversations, or it's still a scenario where, the mother body will be telling you about plans, but you seldom see execution of those plans?
Well, government, I think, is doing something because apparently, I think Uganda
Mr. Mpoza, if you can move a touch, we can barely hear you. The line is cracking, so please keep your original position if you can.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
It's still cracking. Please move a touch.
Yeah, I think I need to change my location.
All right, please try and establish a position. We are talking to Sam Mpoza, our legendary correspondent in Kampala, Uganda. Apologies about that line that is currently cracking, but he is trying to find a much better position that will not give us cracking feedback. 14:35 Central African Time. This is Africa at Play. And of course, we will continue our conversation with Sam Mpoza. But for now, let's take a short break. We'll be back shortly.
We are telling aspirational and empowering stories. This Africa Month on Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Vue d'Afrique avec Joël Mouteba.
Alors peut-on considérer cette décision comme un désengagement durable des États-Unis vis-à-vis du développement africain, ou s'agit-il d'un simple réalignement stratégique?
Bon, ça peut être les deux à la fois. Donc, au lieu de donner de l'argent à la Banque africaine de développement pour partager en vrac, ils préfèrent maintenant donc cibler les pays partenaires en Afrique. Ça, c'est pour le
réalignement stratégique.
Alors, et aussi, ce n'est pas un désengagement durable, mais je pense que dans les 2 ou 3 prochaines années, il veut d'abord remettre de l'ordre dans ses affaires.
Vue d'Afrique. Du lundi au vendredi de 15h à 16h, temps universel.
Africa at Play. Beautifully, happily marrying sports and music.
14:37 Central African Time.
Night, 1 billion people
and African music. This is Africa at Play on Channel Africa from an African perspective. A warm welcome to Africa at Play. We are in the middle of an exciting conversation with Sam Mpoza, our correspondent based in Kampala, Uganda, talking all things century celebration, 100 years of existence by Uganda athletics. Sam Mpoza, just to recap, before the break, I was saying what conversations are happening on the ground, knowing for sure that we've had this conversation for quite some time, talking about, in lack of infrastructure and facilities. And my question was, are we having stakeholders meeting in boardrooms or wherever they are meeting to have relevant conversations on the mechanisms that can solve these problems? Because it's one thing celebrating 100 years, but as we celebrate 100 years, it would be great to have, announcements that says through sport ministry, through the mother body of athletics, Uganda Athletics, universities with their high performance centers, this is what is going to happen moving forward. The execution point of things versus still wondering if we will ever get this funding for Uganda Athletics to fly high.
Yes, thank you. And I think if the conversation is there, it's very low key. I've not seen any stakeholders meeting to discuss this problem. I don't know whether it's supposed to be government or the Uganda Athletics who are supposed to facilitate and originate this conversation. But as journalists, we have always raised this issue. And when you talk to the officials of Uganda Athletics, they will always come up with that excuse: we don't have facilities. We have talent, but we don't have facilities. And of course, this you can just see it. But there has not been any forum where probably stakeholders, government, the corporate world, and probably other people coming together to discuss this issue. However, I think it has all been left to government to handle. And of course, government also have their own issues. They will also look at other things before they look at sports. But apparently, as we speak, thank God, we have the Chan Championship coming to Uganda. And this has helped a lot because a number of stadia is being developed. For instance, there's one that is being developed in western Uganda in Hoima, where we have also oil mining. So this one is about to be, I think by December, they will be finishing it. It will have an athletics track. And then there's another one that is going to be constructed in northern Uganda, mid-northern Uganda, in Lira, where John Akibwa, the man who first won as a gold medal in Olympic Games in 1972, when he won the 100 meters hurdles, where he comes from. He's from town in Lira, mid-northern Uganda. So a stadium that is being built there, and it's also named after him, John Akibwa Stadium. So it will also have an athletics track, and we have the high altitude training center that was named after Stephen Kiprotich when he won the marathon, Olympic marathon in 2012 in London. So that also maybe helps. Since that time, it has been under construction. Recently, last year I was there. I think at least 80 or 90% of the facility has been done. So we are only depending on government. Stakeholders, universities, you talked about universities and schools. Yes, we have at least the universities are doing a few. They're doing a few. Some universities are actually trying, because we have Neto University who have an athletics track. They just put Tatan recently, but we also have individuals like Joshua Cheptegei. He has his own training center near the government's high altitude training center in Teriet, that is in Kapchora district, where I told you on Mountain Elgon. It is 2,400 meters above sea level. So Joshua Cheptegei has come up with his own track, but Jacobo Kiprimo has also come up with his own Maram track in his district in Queen, which is helping his own people in community there, and so many assets have come through there. So yes, there are individual efforts that are being done, and also government, but I've not seen any corporate organization are doing the same for athletics.
And also, Semboza, earlier on you've touched on those elite athletes that end up leaving the country, going for greener pastures, and they end up opting out to get the citizenship of foreign countries because they want to look after their own talent, because they realize that where they come from, their native land, is still struggling with infrastructure and facilities. And that's another conversation of paramount significance that needs to be tabled to say we nurture talent only to lose it to other countries. And when it comes to bigger spectacles like the World Athletics Championships, the Olympics, which are coming up in 2028 in Los Angeles, with the previous edition that took place in Paris 2024, the countries on the African continent, not just Uganda, they end up losing some of these athletes. Nigeria is a practical example. They had a medallion of an athlete who has opted for a U.S. citizenship. As a result, Nigeria came empty-handed from Paris because of all these logistical problems that speaks to lack of infrastructure and facilities and maladministration. And that's another topic that needs to take place. Do you think it's a topic that is on top of the agenda, or it's still on a low-key?
I think that is a big topic that should be on the agenda for all the African countries whenever they sit to talk about sports and talent development. Unfortunately, I've not come across any forum where that has been made a huge topic or a significant topic. And yet we are dying silently. As Africa, we are dying silently. I don't know what we shall do, but like you said, yes, this is something that needs to be discussed. It's not only Nigeria. Okay, yes, Kenya came back with medals from USA. From the Olympic Games in France. But many of Kenyan athletes were running for other countries, Bahrain, all those countries. Uganda, we also suffered. The team that won, I think, the mixed relay, the guy for USA, the male runner, is someone who grew up in Uganda. He studied in Uganda. His father is Ugandan, but because probably his mother, because his mother is from Holland, so he ran for Holland. But he grew up in Uganda. He studied in Uganda up to university, but he moved on to USA. Then he decided to run for Netherlands, and they won a gold medal. So that Uganda suffered that. I just wish he ran for Uganda, and Uganda would have come back with that medal maybe. So many countries, like you said, Nigeria, but also other countries. Because if you look at the Olympics, most of the medal winners in the Olympic Games and World Championships are really black people who are running for European countries, for America and other countries, not Africa. They are not representing Africa. So Africa, we are sitting back, and we are not seeing this as a problem until we realize that it's a problem, and probably at some level we initiate a conversation about that, and we see how we can help our own people so that they stop, going for greener pastures, and they come back and represent their own countries in Africa. I think the change will be seen. Otherwise, for now, everyone doesn't mind, and we shall always celebrate. We shall always talk about it. That we see as black people, yes, we are talented, but at the end of the day, the honor goes out to other people, other countries that have good money to facilitate these athletes, and we end up coming back miserable whenever we go to those games.
Sam Mboza is our correspondent from Uganda in Kampala, and we are celebrating 100 years, a century of existence by Ugandan athletics. Of course, tabling challenges that are still on the table that will help Uganda athletics and the rest of athletics on the African continent to make it to its desired level, where we can witness African talent staying on the African continent, even if they go abroad, but still remembering where home is and representing their native countries when it comes to big events like the World Athletics Championships and, of course, the Olympics that comes in a 4-year cycle. Mr. Mboza, thank you so much for talking to us on Africa at Play. All the best. Before I let you go, any burning issues under sport in Uganda?
Well, it's maybe celebrations for Vipers FC Sports Club, who were crowned champions of the Uganda Premier League yesterday. And then Kampala Queens, the ladies team, who are also the champions of the Uganda Women Football League. So it's only celebrations for those teams. And of course, as other teams are also looking forward to probably improving and coming back to compete for the trophies. And of course, the Vipers also have a chance to win a double this year, but they will have to play KCCA, Kampala Capital City Authority, in the finals of the Uganda Cup. So, of course, winning a double is a big thing for teams here in Uganda. I think, just like I've seen it also in Europe, a double is, they give you a name of Salongo. Salongo is a name that is given to a father of twins. So everyone wants to, compete in the next season being called Salongo, because you are a father of twins. When you win a double, you become a Salongo. So Vipers is looking up to becoming the Salongo this season and go into next season, boasting of being big men around. Because, fathers of twins, if you can father twins, you are always respected in the community, especially here in Uganda. And I think also in the entire Africa. So that is what is here right now as I speak to you. And the other thing is, of course, preparations for CHAN. They are in high gear. The inspection team was in Kampala this week. The CAF inspection team, led by the third vice president of CAF, they were here on Thursday. The whole day they moved through Kampala, inspecting the facilities. The infrastructure that is going to host CHAN. They made a few recommendations, and of course, they gave even deadlines for a few things to be fixed in some places. But of course, they looked at the training facilities, the match venues, and hotels. Most of it was okay, apart from a few training facilities that needed to fix a few things, especially the floodlights and maybe a few things on the turf. Otherwise, I think Uganda is good to go. The team left Uganda on Thursday. Friday they were in Kenya, and I think yesterday they were in Tanzania. And yes, we are good to go for CAF.
One Africa Update with Lulu Kabu.
Teams will start arriving in Uganda in early July, and the tournament will take place in the beginning of next July. Teams will be coming in, but the tournament will take place in August. And of course, for the first time, East Africa will be enjoying that international status, where all the world will be looking at East Africa to see what is going on in China. Of course, that comes in with a lot of development in terms of infrastructure, like I told you. And of course, remember, even the Africa Cup of Nations Finals 2027 will come to East Africa still. So is a business center for sports, as I speak to you, and everyone is looking up to those two international events.
Mr. Simon Boza, our legendary correspondent based in Kampala, Uganda, thank you so much for talking to us on the latest in Ugandan sport. Have an awesome afternoon.
Thank you so much. Same to you, sir.
14:50 Central African Time, and that's how we wrap up the celebration of a century, 100 years of existence by Ugandan athletics with our correspondent Simon Boza based in Kampala, Uganda. Fatim Diabate, who was born in Bamako, the capital city of Mali in West Africa, this time around is saying, how de game. This is Africa at Play, as Delil Siashai.
We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palisa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Depo Kholikweleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tame Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joël Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Derub Rabinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochi Tika, 7 till 8 p.m. Mariamo Kumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some useful knowledge. Kaludiscopia, 9 till 10. We take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana, 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones, on air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising.
14:57 Central African Time. This is Africa at Play on Channel Africa from an African perspective. We are live every Saturday and Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. Central African Time on DSTV Audio Bouquet Channel 802 or OpenView 628 if you are in South Africa. Alternatively, you can reach us from anywhere in the world online on channelafrica.co.za, also available on SABC+. Should you wish to get in touch with us on our different social media platforms, please do so without hesitation. On Instagram and X is at Channel Africa 1, and on Facebook the name of our station, Channel Africa. If you miss out on any of our conversations, please do visit our Channel Africa website. Click on programs and search for Africa at Play. At the bottom right screen of Africa at Play, you click on more to access all those important and special conversations, and by all means you can listen to them at your time of leisure. Thank you for listening to Africa at Play. As Delilcia Shire.
What are the teenagers up to if they are not in class? Let's get in touch with the teenager in sport.
14:59 Central African Time. You are still tuned in to Africa at Play, and it is that special moment of the afternoon where we get to speak to the junior athletes out there. And we now welcome to Africa at Play Malia Smith, who is a grade 10 learner at Northleaf High School, who plays for the first team of the girls, and will be heading to Netherlands in October for an exciting hockey program that will be taking place in the Netherlands. Malia, good afternoon and welcome to Africa at Play.
Hi, Uncle Neto. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
I'm well as well. What did you have for breakfast today?
I don't even know. It was kind of a rush to get to church this morning.
Oh, I see. And did everything go accordingly?
Yes.
Okay, lovely stuff. So I'm certain after this conversation, it's you and lunchtime.
Yeah. Lunchtime and the books.
Oh, lunchtime in the books. I like that. Thank you so much for joining us on Africa at Play. Let's talk about Malia Smith and hockey. How did the two meet?
I started playing hockey at the age of 7 at my primary school. It wasn't a really popular sport at the time, but I thought, why not give it a try? At first I was playing soccer, but I really fell in love with the sport of hockey, and I just decided to stick with it.
And you play as a goalkeeper, and something interesting is that your aunt, Gloria Brown, used to play football as a goalkeeper. So I see it runs in the family. How did you become a goalkeeper?
I became a goalkeeper in grade 6. No one else wanted to play, and they needed someone to hop in there. So I'm like, I might as well do it. I'm not afraid of new challenges.
I've seen a video of yours in action, and on that day, the attackers were just coming your way. But you were in a brilliant mood. You were online. You made certain that you are not conceding on the day, making saves, back-to-back saves as they attempted to try and score a goal. But you said not today. Do you still remember that game, or a game where it was that hectic and you just came on board for your side?
I think most of our games have been pretty hectic, but I do remember that one. I like to remember some of the saves that I've made. It helps to keep me going throughout tough games, and it's just really motivates me. I do remember that game, yes.
And reflecting to that game, what did your teammates say? What did your coach say?
My teammates, they back me in all that I do. They kept shouting words of encouragement as well as my coaches. they were just not hyping me up, but like just there behind me, and I really felt their support.
Interesting indeed. If you have just joined us, we're talking to our teenager in sport, grade 10 learner at Northcliffe High, who plays for the first girls team and is talking to us about her career in hockey. She will be heading to Netherlands in October to experience hockey on another level. Malia, who is your coach?
My coach I have two coaches, Demi Dutoy and Georgia Carpenter.
What kind of a coach is Demi Dutoy?
She's a really lovely lady. You know, she really supports myself and the rest of my teammates. She continues to give us guidance, whether it's on or off the field, and continues to support us in all that we do.
She's like a mother too. You're talking about on and off the field. Talk to us about a moment where she spoke to you, and to this day you still remember that inspiration or motivation of words.
One day on tour, there was comments made by one of the supporters on the stand, not one of our supporters, but it really got to me. And when we went back to the place we were staying at, Coach Demi, she spoke to me, and she could see I was affected by the words that this guy said, and she really just helped me through that point in my life.
Incredible indeed. When last did you speak to Coach Demi Dutoy?
I think I spoke to her on Friday after our match.
Is it? What did you talk about?
We were just reviewing the game and talking about how the team could have improved, how I could have improved in my game, what mistakes I made, and how I was going to fix them.
And what was the final score on your last match?
3-2 to Spain City.
Oh, so you went down by 3-2?
Yeah.
Okay. How do you bounce back from a loss, knowing that it's not just about that particular match, but there's more matches coming where you can come out and do what Malia Smith on a good day would do, like a game where you've helped the team, or different matches where you've helped the team to do very well?
On days like that, I think about the mistake, what I could have done in that moment, and I focus on what's next, because you can't dwell in the past. You rather look forward to what's happening next.
Indeed. If Coach Demi Dutoy is listening to this conversation, what would you like to say to her?
I just want to say I really appreciate all that you've done for me, Coach, and I can't wait for the rest of the season.
Coach Demi Dutoy, a very good afternoon and a warm welcome to Africa at Play.
Thank you so much. It's so nice to be with you.
How are you doing, Coach?
Oh, my gosh.
I'm doing really well, thank you. How are you today?
I'm doing good. I wish Malia was in studio so that I can see the reaction, because she never saw this one coming. Malia, how do you feel now the coach is on the line with you?
I feel very happy, but also a little bit nervous now.
Don't be nervous. Just having a good conversation, trying to help you to be the best you can be on the hockey field and off the hockey field. Coach, talk to us about this amazing talent. When did you first meet, and how has the journey been?
Sure. I started working at Northcliffe 3 years ago as a coach, and Malia came onto the radar very, very early in her. As soon as she kind of came to Northcliffe, we knew that there was a big talent there. I have the privilege of being her coach this year, but was eyeing her from way before that. So I'm very grateful that she's in my team this year, and I've had the opportunity to coach her. She is exceptional on the field, and even more exceptional in what she brings off the field. Her energy, the way she contributes to the team culture, what she gives to her teammates is truly astounding.
Coach, with coaches, they will say you are exceptional, but in the back of their heads, they also know that you can always improve on your game. When talking areas of improvement for a good player like Malia Smith, what are we talking about?
Well, I think the Netherlands is going to be an exceptional opportunity for her. I think for Malia, going forward, it's for her to have more opportunities playing at higher levels, which is really going to push her in her skill set. So the Netherlands coming up will be exceptional for her, as well as just working on that confidence. She doesn't quite know how good she is just yet. She knows she's good, but she doesn't quite believe how exceptional she is. So we're working really hard on that confidence for her to really believe that she has what it takes to go all the way.
Africa and the world are listening, Coach. What would you like to say to Malia Smith so that she can grab this motivation with her and put it in her hockey bag and only take it out when she goes to the field of play, making certain that she takes her game to another level?
Absolutely. Malia, I believe in you like nobody's business, and you know that. I cannot wait for you to continue to believe in yourself and discover how good you are. And I really, really want to encourage you to just be brave enough to allow yourself to play your game, to trust your instincts, and to keep working as hard as you do.
There you have it. Malia, what would you like to say to the coach?
Thank you so much, Coach. You almost got me in tears, yeah? A little bit. But thank you for all your support and guidance. I really appreciate it.
We appreciate the tears of joy, Malia. Keep doing what you're doing and always listen to the coach. If you have a moment to go for extra trainings, don't look at it as a waste of time. It's going to benefit you in a big way, especially because you are heading to Netherlands to experience hockey on an international level. Coach, are you heading to Netherlands with Malia?
Unfortunately, I'm not. She's going to have the privilege of being coached by some other exceptional coaches in the setup, which is, I think, even another extraordinary opportunity for her. It's always good to get lots of different perspectives and coaching into one player. So it's going to be a huge growth opportunity.
Coach Demi du Toit, who is a co-coach of Malia Smith, our teenager in sport, who is a hockey player at Northcliffe High and playing for the first girls team. Coach, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us on Africa at Play and the brilliant words that you've shared with our teenager in sport, because one day she's going to represent South Africa and the African continent on a high level, and we hope and believe she will remember this day.
Thank you so much, and thank you for giving her the platform to be recognized. It's really appreciated.
It's a pleasure. We are here for the great athletes out there, including junior athletes, because they are the future stars. That was Coach Demi du Toit, a surprise for our teenager in sport, Malia Smith, a grade 10 learner at Northcliffe High, who also plays for the girls team, first team. Malia, do you just play at school or you've got a club outside of school?
Right now I'm just playing at school. Schoolwork has been a bit hectic to go to club, but I would be interested in going to a club.
Let's talk about your trip to Netherlands. Have you been out of the country before?
Yes, I have. Not for hockey, though.
Okay. Where have you been? Was it on vacation?
Yeah, I went to Thailand with my family, as well as Mauritius.
And how was the experience there?
It was out of this world, you know. Lots of food, lots of different people to meet, lots of experiences.
Did you understand the language?
Pardon?
Did you understand the language?
Oh, no, I didn't.
As long as you had a good time. You spoke about going out to Thailand with a family. Let's talk about your family. Who are we talking about in your family?
My mom, my father, my brother. They're the ones who have been behind me. They see the behind the scenes and they continue to guide me when I'm going astray.
What is your brother's name?
Miguel Smith.
Miguel Smith. What do you and Miguel talk about when you're just having a time amongst yourself?
Usually about music, anime, sometimes schoolwork.
Has he seen you playing hockey?
Yes, he has.
And what was his feedback after the match?
He said I played okay, but obviously as the older brother, he had some critiques on my game, but that's always appreciated.
Did you tell him that today you will be on Africa's #1 Africa at Play and he better listen?
Yes, I did.
Oh,
I think he's in his room listening now.
Oh, okay. Interesting stuff. Miguel Smith, a very good afternoon and a warm welcome to Africa at Play.
Afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah, you see the joy of having your own room. Malia doesn't know that you're on the line as well. Talk to us about your sister. What kind of a sister is Malia Smith?
Hey, she's the best sister I could have asked for. I mean, first I wanted a little brother, but she's my everything now.
Yeah, so you are happy with a little sister?
Yes, definitely.
Interesting indeed. And what did you like to say to her now on air with everyone listening to, the siblings relationship that you have with your sister?
Malia, I just want to say I'm super proud of you and where you've come. You've always been a hard worker, way harder than me, in my opinion. And I just want to say I love you and you must just keep doing what you're doing.
Amazing indeed. Malia, how do you react to your brother's awesome words?
I'm shocked this guy didn't tell me he was going to be on the radio with me. Wow, Miguel. But thank you, bruh. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, amazing. How do you feel with both these surprises?
Wow. Words cannot express how much that meant to me to hear some important people in my life share what they know about me. I really appreciate it.
Great indeed. And you also have an aunt who's doing well out there, Gloria Brown, a former Banyana player who is now a football analyst and commentator for SABC Sport. What kind of an aunt is Gloria Brown?
Auntie Gloria, she's she's a present figure in my life. When I was still playing soccer, she was there for me. She was giving me guidance in my goalkeeping, which is also translated into my hockey now. And she's just always supporting me, whether it be financially or she's guiding me in other stuff.
What position did you play in soccer?
I played goalkeeper as well.
So goalkeeper is your thing. Whether it's soccer or hockey, you are still in the goalpost.
Yeah, I like it there.
You like it there. And any special game during your soccer days?
None in particular. I think maybe against Sundowns.
Is it? What was the final score? How did it go? And how was your performance on the day?
I think we lost 3-1, but the team performed exceptionally well. We really bonded as I bond with my defensive units because they understand the struggle. I played okay, but they really backed me. They had my back when I was not in a good space on the field.
And you are correct, Malia, because it's not always about winning a match. At times you could win a match when you've actually played very well, but because of few defensive errors, you end up conceding goals you weren't supposed to concede, and that is the nature of the game. You've also played as a centre-back in hockey. How was it in that position?
That position was similar to being in goals, just less protection. It was also very fun for me to stop the attackers from coming into the box and from trying to take a shot at goals.
Interesting indeed. You are heading to Netherlands in October. How's it going? How are the logistics? Is everything sorted in terms of your passport? Is it valid? Your visa sorted? Your air ticket, return ticket? All of those logistics, accommodation, and everything that speaks to your trip to Netherlands. How's it going?
I think it's going fairly well. My passport, I think, is updated. My visa, I'm not so sure about that. But I trust my mom. She's got all of that under control, and I try to help her wherever I can.
What kind of a mother is she?
She's the best woman I've ever met in my life. She's outstanding. I can't even describe how much she's done for me. And me and my brother, she's just one of the best people I've ever met, and she continues to amaze me with the things she tells me, the stories about her back in the day and how she used to work and how hard she's worked for us.
Magnificent indeed. You also spoke about books and not just hockey. What's your favorite subject?
My favorite subject, it's between life sciences and business, but I think business just takes a little bit of a lead.
Your favorite dish?
My favorite dish? Yo.
I like this one.
Yo.
You're going through a list of dishes.
Yo, this is a tough question.
Is it because there's too many good options out there?
Yeah.
So maybe you can name three.
Okay. Let's say beef stroganoff. What else? Actually, that's the only one I can think of. I forgot the other ones.
Okay, no problem indeed. And as you are heading to Netherlands, what are you hoping to achieve there?
I'm hoping to learn from the coaches and the players that will be there, possibly getting scouted for a club in the Netherlands, but that'll all come to pass. It's all in God's hands.
There's always a challenge, Malia, when it comes to a sport like hockey, which involves quite a number of items in terms of the equipment. Even worse when you are a goalkeeper, because you even need the protective gear, the headgear, to make certain that while you are in the goalpost, you are also protected. And that makes the sport expensive, just talking about the equipment. It's even worse when you have to travel to a country like Netherlands, where you need a visa and you need accommodation and you need a return flight ticket, which then makes it a more expensive outing. Talk to us about the challenges of this funding, because a lot of times it's hitting on the parents' pockets. Are you getting a sponsor for this trip?
Right now, my parents have been working tirelessly to help fund this trip by making food and getting donations from my family and friends that are in and outside the country. My parents really have been amazing in this, and I don't know how to thank them. So hopefully when I'm older and I have lots of money when I'm made it pro, then I can just spoil them.
With how much are you planning to spoil them with?
Everything.
Everything, couple of millions?
Yeah, maybe.
Wow, your parents are so fortunate to have a good guy like you. What message do you have for your teammates that are heading to Netherlands with you in October, but also your classmates and overall your schoolmates?
I just want to thank them for supporting me in all that I do, whether it be my sports or my schoolwork, for their guidance, for them being the people to make me laugh on a bad day. And I just want to wish them all the best for whatever's to come in their future.
Malia Smith, a hockey player, grade 10 learner at Northcliffe High School, and she plays for the first team in her school. She will be heading to Netherlands in October to experience hockey on a different level, an international level. And from the Africa at Play team, we wish her nothing but the best. Malia, thank you so much for talking to us on Africa at Play. All the best. If you believe it will happen, you will be in Europe come October.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you indeed. That's how we wrap up our conversation on our Teenager in Sport, a conversation with Malia Smith, a hockey player, grade 10 learner who will be heading to Netherlands representing Northcliffe High School, and she plays for the first team. Let's return to the dance floor. But before we do that, let's take a short break.
You like what we do on Channel Africa? Then follow us on our socials. Channel Africa 1 on all social pages. And get the African perspective. Mornings made better with Peter and Asanda on Rise and Shine. Weekdays, 6 till 9.
A Mauritanian appeals court has this week handed down a 15-year prison sentence and a hefty $3 million fine to the country's former president, Mohammed Ould Abdel Aziz, for corruption, money laundering, and illicit self-enrichment. The ruling upholds and escalates an earlier conviction from 2023, marking a significant moment in Mauritania's efforts to tackle high-level corruption.
In terms of the country fighting corruption, I think this case shows the seriousness of the country in trying to fight corruption. There is substantial evidence that indicates to the fact that he was corrupt. These cases are always very difficult to then be able to balance whether they're not politically motivated and also balancing the rule of law.
Nyasha Mpani, who's a project leader at the Institute for Justice and Reconciliation in South Africa.
Mornings made better with Peter and Asanda on Rise and Shine. Africa at Play with Neto and Neto Chemane. Still 9, Peter and Asanda, as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palisa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu. Getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real with Tebuho Likweleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tame Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joël Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochitika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some Lucifer knowledge. Kaludishkopia, 9 till 10. We take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipisa Magweta. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shayla Ndikumana, 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones, on air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palisa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu. Getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real with Tebuho Likweleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tame Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joël Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochitika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some Lucifer knowledge. Kaludishkopia, 9 till 10. We take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipisa Magwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shayla Ndikumana, 10 till 12 p.m.
Let's now take a quick flight to Lusaka, Zambia, and connect with our correspondent Namuchana to introduce the topic of the day. This is Africa at Play. If you have just joined us, a very warm welcome to Africa at Play. Astelelsia Shai.
Minor sports are professional sports which are not regarded as the Premier Leagues. Minor sports tend to play in smaller, less elaborate venues, often competing in smaller cities and markets. The media has been accused of not giving much coverage to minor sports. Is it true that the media hasn't paid enough attention to media sports? This is our topic for this week, and I have with me Mukwima Chilala, who is a sports journalist here in Zambia. Mukwima, thank you so much for having taken time to talk to Channel Africa. Mukwima, the media has been accused of not giving so much coverage to minor sports. Is it true that the media hasn't paid enough attention to minor sports? What are your views?
Well, for me, I think the media has tried as much as it can to give prominence to what is known, or rather what may be called the minor sports. Yes, maybe it may not be to that optimal level, but I, from time and again, see this sport being given prominence. Perhaps an angle that could be looked at could be the fact that on the government side, or in Zambia, these other sports are not given the attention much as football is given, because football is the biggest sport, and as such, football always steals the show. But in terms of media coverage, I see quite a number of traditional media giving the space to these sports. Perhaps what is not being done rather is on the new media, on these media pages that are on the internet, websites, as well as the social media pages. Yes, on the cyberspace, not much is being reported in terms of prominence in as far as minor sports. But if one has been in a traditional media house before, one would understand that it's actually a punishable offense to only be reporting on one beat without giving prominence to the others, unless perhaps much smaller media houses. So it's a yes and no kind of affair on my end.
The views of Mukwima Chelala, sports journalist here in Zambia. We also got the views of Wezi Mazunda, sports analyst.
The media being accused of not giving much coverage to minor sport. True or not? Well, it depends on the kind of minor sport and what experience they've had. I'd like to generalize it. So it depends on the kind of experience that particular minor sport has had with the media. But with my experience, I think most of the time, these so-called minor sports have got, for lack of a better term, let me use the word, an inferiority complex. Maybe you have this way of comparing yourself to other so-called major sports, like big sports, popular sports. Okay, I'll give an example. Football mostly, because it's most talked about. So let's look at football. So the first thing that happens is, even just generally when you're working in the media, in the newsroom or in the sports department, when a football story comes, automatically all the attention is given and goes to the football story. So what has tended to happen, in my view, what I see is minor sports tend to shrink and say, oh, okay. So every time a minor sport has an event, you always want to put that tag. Somehow you bring that competitive sport in your picture and make yourself look small and let that other sport look big. It may be big, yes, because definitely sports are not the same. Sports like football, it's a fact. Their budgets are big, sponsors are many, so competitions are many, a lot of things are happening here and there, everywhere. So for minor sports, that may not be the case. You have little resources, sponsorship, you don't even get to have sponsorship most of the time, so you're even beginning to compare yourself with the big sport. And then maybe, you want to find someone to blame. So now you're telling yourself, it's obvious the media is going to go to the big sports, cover the major sports and leave us the minor sports. But I feel, and what I would advise the minor sports, I think it's a change of attitude. I think even as a sport itself. In my view myself, I don't believe in minor sports. In coverage of sport, even when I'm speaking, I'll not go, when I go to a certain sport, which maybe one would think is a very sport, I'll just look at it as sport. I'll just look at it as sport, and I'm going there as a professional to cover the event at that sport. And then I'll take it. Obviously, the politics usually come, like I've said, with the newsroom, the editors. It depends, and most of the times, these I've already given, the differences in budget, support, following, impact, and everything. But I think it's high time those considering themselves as minor sports change their mindset as well. Stop looking at themselves as minor sports. Begin to learn from the big sports. What are the big sports doing? Okay, if it's media coverage, organize yourself well with the media. Be confident even when you're bringing them together. Understand how the media operates. Most importantly, get a media officer. These sports, minor sports, should get media officers so that these media professionals will know how to speak to the media, target them, because you might find there is a press briefing for an election for a so-called major sport. You, as if you're considering yourself as a minor sport, everybody will rush there. So you are looking at the timings. You in your small sport, definitely will not put your event together with the other one. Your event may just serve, even just getting your position in that particular media. So just understand the media system, understand the timings. It's very important. I think these are the areas that they need to look into, as opposed to shunning that the media doesn't cover. Yes, in some cases, the media doesn't go to cover these minor sports. Sometimes when they do go to cover the minor sports, maybe the reception they receive from these minor sports, because of what I believe is probably the attitude that they're being given, because they say, we know you've come now because you don't have stories. The big sports are not giving you enough stories. Now you're coming to us. We're like the by the way thing. It shouldn't be like that. So I think it's about how the minor sports organize themselves, position themselves for the coverage from the media, and then they'll see a change to it. But the starting point is, don't consider yourself a minor sport. Sport is just sport. That's where Africa is missing it. Sport is just sport. Invest, because how are you going to sell yourself as a sport to make yourself big? How are you going to make yourself big? Because there are big events where you can go and prove yourself. There are big events like sporting events like the Commonwealth Games, the Olympics. This is where you show yourself. World Championships, regional games, African games. Position yourself. You start from somewhere, as opposed to just having an attitude of feeling.
The views of Wezi Mazunda on our topic today, and we were looking at minor sports. We know that minor sports are professional sports which are not regarded as premier leagues. Minor sports teams tend to play in smaller, less elaborate venues, often competing in smaller cities and markets. We were asking, the media has been accused of not giving much coverage to minor sports. Is it true that the media hasn't paid enough attention to minor sports? We had the Mukwima Chelala, sports journalist, and the Wezi Mazunda, who is also a sports journalist here in Zambia. For Channel Africa Sports, Namchana from Zambia.
Join the birthday celebrations this month.
Happy birthday to you.
Still connecting Africa to the world.
Channel Africa, the African perspective. Africa Update on Channel Africa with Lulu Kabu.
Protesters in Ghana have accused the country's president of violating the constitution and interfering in the independence of the judiciary. Eric Mawena Egbeta, the opposition protesters are calling for the reinstatement of Tokonu.
The presidency and the president and all of its spokespersons around the seat of government have had one narrative and one narrative only, that no constitutional breaches have occurred in the process up until now, which has resulted in the suspension of the Chief Justice. In fact, it does appear the government has already communicated to these protesters that we're not interested in having the Chief Justice return and fill her position until the determination of the matter. We believe that she must remain suspended for the investigations to take place, after which the final determination will inform whether or not she returns.
Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time. Africa at Play with sports and music from an African perspective.
15:32 Central African Time. This is Africa at Play live on DSTV Audio Bouquet Channel 802 or OpenView 628 if you are based in South Africa. Alternatively, you can reach us from anywhere you are on channelafrica.co.za, also available on SABC+. We now welcome to Africa at Play our correspondent from Lusaka, Zambia, Namuchana. So Namuchana, good afternoon and welcome to Africa at Play.
Good afternoon, Neto, and good afternoon to all our listeners on the African continent.
Thank you for joining us on Africa at Play. So Namuchana, let's get on to it, talking about a proud moment for Mercy Chipasula as she is crowned the Regional Junior Sportswoman of the Year. The Under-17 skipper received her prestigious accolade at the Regional V Annual Sports Awards held in Zimbabwe. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think this is not only a great award for her. This is something that has to be celebrated by all Zambians. She's been a very good footballer for some time now. She's proving that she's the future of the Zambia national women's soccer team. She plays good football. She's a skillful player, very interesting to watch, and just a nice young lady. And it is nice that she has won this prestigious award at the annual sports awards that were held in Zimbabwe the other day. This goes to show how much the Football Association of Zambia has put much emphasis on youth football, and the Zambian youth football is doing its best. They are playing well. They are representing this country well in all sectors. And you can talk of the under-17, the under-15, under-20, and under-23. Both girls and boys are really doing well. And I'm not surprised that Mercy Chipasula, who is the skipper of the Zambia national women's soccer team, under-17, she got this accolade the other night in Zimbabwe. Surely this is something to celebrate, Neto.
Namuchana is our correspondent from Lusaka, Zambia, and we're talking all things Southern African sport with the major focus on Zambian sport. 15:35 Central African Time. If you have just joined us, welcome to Africa at Play. So Namuchana, I've seen a pattern where when it comes to the regional tournaments of COSAFA, the main coaches of the national team, they're sort of given a break, those that are not from that particular country. For an example, in South Africa, Hugo Broos then gets a break to visit his family in Belgium. And in this case, Avram Grant will also be taking a break as WADA coach Watson Nyirenda has unveiled a 35-member all-local provisional squad ahead of the 2025 Hollywood Bets COSAFA Cup set for June the 4th to the 15th in Bloemfontein, Free State Province in South Africa. Your thoughts on this pattern of bringing coaches on board just for the regional tournament and you give a break to the main national team coaches. We've seen it with Halman Mkalele, Midnight Express, taking the reins when it's the COSAFA tournament. And here it is happening with WADA filling up those shoes when it comes to the Chipolo Polo gearing up for the upcoming COSAFA.
Yeah, I think a good initiative there by FAs in the Southern Africa region. This is what we need. Neto, we should be alive to the fact that one day these foreign coaches that we have, they won't be here. They will leave. So by the time that they are going to be leaving, we should be able to tend to our people. We should be able to bring our people on board. So how do we do that? We're supposed to give them enough time, ample time, let them learn the trade and let them have the ropes so that in case the so-called foreign coaches that we have, they leave abruptly or maybe their contracts come to an end and are not renewed, or maybe an FA won't have enough money to pay them going forward. They can always fall on their local coach. And we're talking about Wilson Nyirenda. He's one of the best coaches that this country has ever produced. And I can tell you, Neto, that right now, as I'm talking to you, Wilson has finished his pro license from the Confederation of African Football, CAF. So he's one of the highest and qualified coaches we have. We know, and we've been told, Neto, that this is the man that the Football Association of Zambia is propping up, because in an event that Avram Grant will decide to leave, or maybe the Football Association of Zambia, in any case, or maybe in an event that they want to terminate his contract, we have been rest assured that there is no another man who is going to take over the reins of the Zambia national soccer team apart from Wilson Nyirenda. So it is good, Neto. It is good in the sense that despite the acrimony, despite the cold relationship that existed between the Football Association of Zambia and Wilson Nyirenda, they have managed to mend their relationship, and the Football Association of Zambia even took him for these courses, and they have vested their trust in him. Not only is he going to take the Zambia national soccer team to COSAFA this year, Neto, you are aware that this is the man who is drilling the team as they prepare to go and participate at CHAN that will be hosted by Uganda, Tanzania, and Kenya. So it is a good idea. And in my own view, this is the only way we are going to develop. This is the only we need to trust our own people. It is high time that we put so much trust in our own people, and they are capable of delivering. So kudos to the Football Association of Zambia for trusting and for putting their trust in Wilson Nyirenda. And I believe he's going to deliver and he's going to lift COSAFA and CHAN. He has a good squad. He has no excuses to make when it comes to COSAFA and CHAN. And definitely is going to deliver. So to all the FAs, be it SAFA, be it ZIFA, be it FAS, I think this is the right way to go. Let's learn to trust our people. Let's give them the mantle so that we see what they can do. At times when you trust people, they tend to deliver it.
And while at it, Mr. Namuchana, when you bring in your natives as coaches, also pay them as well as you would have paid to the foreign coaches, and not make it about them being your native coaches and you don't see the need of paying them well.
Yeah, this is a problem that we have been having in Africa, and there is no country that can say, look, as we have been paying our local coaches just as much as we pay the foreign coaches that we contract. It is like it is the same trend on the African continent, where we tend to favor the so-called foreign coaches. When we say foreign coaches, those that come from Europe, or maybe Asia, or maybe America, or wherever they're coming from, maybe Southern America. But our very own people, we tend not to remunerate them properly. I'll give you an example. The last time we had a local coach here in Wilson Nyirenda, who nearly qualified Zambia to the 2018 FIFA World Cup in Russia. And he just missed it, I think, by 2 points or so. The Football Association of Zambia, they took about 18 months without paying him, and he was only getting something close to about 60,000 rands, or maybe about 70,000 Zambian kwacha. But we have a situation now where Avram Grant, who has been contracted by the Football Association of Zambia and the Zambian government, is being paid 25,000 United States dollars. That goes to about 700,000 rands or 720,000 kwacha. So you can see the discrepancies there. You are able to see the differences, and it is outrageous. Actually, we should be able to pay our coaches well. If we are able to organize $25,000 for a foreign coach, we should be able to pay the same to local players, to our local coaches, as a way of motivating them. And I can tell you, like in the case of the foreign coaches that we've had in Zambia, whenever they come, the government and the Football Association of Zambia, they'll rent them a house. They're going to give them a brand new car, and on top of that, they'll receive a hefty salary. But when it comes to a local coach, you find they're even paid in kwacha. They're not even paid in dollars. So it is high time that we sat down and the so-called principles of the game, they should have a mind that looks at promoting their own. This is the problem that we've been having even on the economical side of Africa, Neto. We think that foreigners will come and develop Africa. Africa only developed by its own citizens. And there's no country that has been developed ever by somebody else who is coming from outside. All countries that have developed in the world, they have developed by their own citizens. So even in sports, even the so-called the best game of soccer, okay? Countries that have what their own local coaches, those are countries, Neto, that have gone on the world stage, and they have won all the major trophies in the world. You can even talk of countries like Brazil. Most of the World Cups that they got them with their own local coaches. So you can see the faith that they have been having in their own people. But it is a different scenario when it comes to Africa. We feel that anything that is foreign, it is good, but that is local, it is not. It isn't good enough to go with. We need to change our mindsets, Neto.
I fully agree with you that Namuchana, our legendary correspondent based in Lusaka, Zambia, talking to us about all things Zambian and African sport. So Namuchana, the legendary Cameroonian footballer Roger Miller turned 73 on Tuesday the 20th. Roger Albert Miller, Cameroonian former player, born on the 20th of May 1952, was one of the first African players to be a major star on the international stage. He played in 3 World Cups for the Cameroonian national team. At 38 years old, he scored 4 goals at the 1990 FIFA World Cup, and thus becoming the oldest scorer in the World Cup history. He helped Cameroon become the first African team to reach the World Cup quarterfinals. 4 years later, at the age age of 42, Miller broke his own record as the oldest scorer in the World Cup by scoring against Russia in the 1994 FIFA World Cup. What else can you ask for from a legend? Your reaction?
It cannot be said better than you've done, Neto. This is a legend. To me, I feel there is no player on the African continent who ever come closer to Roger Milla. This is the man that we watched when we were still young boys in those days. But I remember watching him at that time when I was in high school, when he played at the 1998 World Cup in France, when he scored at the age of 42. I feel this is the man who has accomplished everything. And that's why I'll tell you that I was watching a certain video where he's not just in football now, but he's helping young Cameroonian entrepreneurs to learn life skills. And a lot of them have benefited from him. And I learned that he has a foundation that he's calling Roger Milla Foundation, where he's busy dishing out cash to the young people of Cameroon, those who want to learn a life skill. So there is absolutely nothing to say on Roger Milla apart from saying we wish we can have even 10 or 20 Roger Millas on the African continent. And I'm sure if we can have people like that, Neto, one day Africa was going to lift the World Cup. We nearly did. It's only that if you watched even the 1990 World Cup, Cameroon played good football. They were ready to go all the way. But at that time, the system was not fair. The refereeing wasn't up to speed. There were a lot of question marks when it came to the way the Cameroonians were treated at the 1990 World Cup. But I feel if the system was fair like these days, Cameroon would have lifted the World Cup in 1990 because they had the good players in the likes of Roger Milla. You can talk of Francois Oman Biek and the likes of Makanaki. So surely this is the man who has represented Africa at the highest level. I only hope that the Confederation of African Football, CAF, they will be able to tap into his knowledge. They will be able to use him for the betterment of football on the African continent.
Namuchana is our correspondent based in Southern Africa, in Lusaka, Zambia, talking to us about all things Southern African and African sports in general. And we were just reflecting to a big achievement by one of the few great African footballers, Roger Milla, who played up until the age of 42, who turned 73 earlier this week on Tuesday. And this is one legend who broke his own record, having scored as the oldest player to score at a World Cup at the age of 38, and made it again to the next World Cup in 1994 and scored again. What else really can you ask from such a great legend? So Namuchana, thank you so much for talking to us on Africa at Play. All the best moving forward.
Yeah, thank you so much, Neto. I know that your favorite player, JJ Okocha, despite him being one of the greatest players of all time, didn't win the African Footballer of the accolade, something that is really, or something that we can just term as mysterious, actually. So we need to find out from you, being the follower of JJ Okocha, why he never won the African Footballer of the Year award.
You know, when talking about awards, Namuchana, I always say that they are not a true reflection of what is out there. You could be the greatest, but not favored by circumstances. And for me, he still remains an amazing footballer on the African continent. And even when we spoke to another legend from Nigeria, Sefuludu, who played in the middle field alongside JJ Okocha, if you remember, they won the 1994 World Cup in Tunisia, but were unable to come to South Africa to defend their title in the 1996 AFCON that was won by Bafana Bafana on home soil. And Mr. Fuludu was even saying that alongside the likes of JJ Okocha, your Rashid Yekini, great players of then, I mean, your Stephen Keshi, may his soul rest in peace, he highlighted that had they came to defend their title in South Africa, they were definitely going to win it. But unfortunately, according to the political tension at the time, Nigeria, the Super Eagles, were unable to come on board. But for me, JJ Okocha, Roger Miller, Dr. Kumalo, Stephen Keshi, those are great footballers that the African continent has ever produced, and no award can describe how great they are. You can say good afternoon to Tony Tonero Bani before we say goodbye to you. Tony Tonero Bani from West Africa in Lagos, Nigeria. Let's hear the greeting from Senam Chana to Tony Tonero.
Yeah, Tony.
Thank you so much.
How is Lagos?
Yeah, it's sunny here, very, very sunny. And of course, I joined you in the middle when I heard the Velvet Voice, of course, doing justice to great players in Africa. And indeed, from what you people are saying, that perhaps JJ Okocha is still a wonder why he didn't win the AFCON title, as the best footballer. But I think Neto just put it to bed. It's great players. Not all the best players get the right accolades. And despite that, I think that JJ, it's distinct. It's very unique in his own way. And I think Africans and the world have come to know that, and of course respect him for his special skills and talent. He remains a legend of African football, despite not having gotten that gong, from CAF.
That is Tony Tonero Bani. Namachana, thank you so much for joining us on Africa at Play. Let's move away from Southern Africa to West Africa.
Yeah, thank you so much, Neto, and please pass my regards to Midnight Express.
I will definitely do that. Helman Mkalele, another great player of his playing days, representing Bafana Bafana, and currently an assistant coach who usually takes the reins when it is time for the regional tournament, the COSAFA Cup, to give the main national coach, Hugo Broos, a break to visit home in Belgium in Europe. Let's welcome officially Tony Tonero Bani to Africa at Play from Lagos, Nigeria. So, Bani, thank you so much for joining us on Africa at Play.
It's always my pleasure, Neto, to join you, to talk about African football. And indeed, it's always an excitement for me.
Indeed. Let's get on to it. Delta State tightening the grip on number one position at the National Sports Festival. Talk to us about what went down.
It's Nigeria's own version of the Olympics, and indeed that shows the convergence of all the youths, of all the talents, raw talents in Nigeria from all the, 31 states in Nigeria, and the Federal Capital Territory, converging at the gateway state. We call it, it's Ogun State, they call it gateway state because it's the only gateway you enter into Lagos, whether land, sea or sea. That you must go through Ogun State, to get to Lagos or even to get out of Lagos. So that's why it's a gateway state. And of course, we have seen a lot of fun, a lot of talent, just displaying, coming out. So many of them that we've seen in almost all sports, and mostly, especially in swimming, where Nigeria has not really done anything spectacular. We have seen a lot of talent here. I think it's left for those who are compiling the list, those who are spotting the talent, for them to go to work and see what they do with what we have seen so far in Ogun State. But I must say, the traditional leaders at the National Sports Festival, Delta State, have further extended their leadership on the medal table, after trailing behind Bayelsa State in the opening 3 days or more. Delta State have restored the old order, and took a narrow lead over Bayelsa. It's always a southern affair when it comes to the National Sports Festival in Nigeria. But as at the close of events yesterday, Delta State has extended the gap significantly. Delta State, as I speak to you, have made a podium appearance of 84 times as against 71 by Bayelsa. So Delta State have 84 medals, which comprise of 41 gold, 14 silver, and 21 bronze medals. And indeed, Bayelsa are trailing them, River State in that order, and Edo State. These are the states that always spring when it comes to sports and when it comes to producing athletes in Nigeria. You know, the other states from the east, you know, talk about Imo State, Abia, Anambra, they are trailing, you know, somewhere in the middle. But these states are the states that the government pay premium attention to sports and facilities. No wonder they are the ones that are at, you know, the forefront of the sports festival. Everything has been going on well at the, you know, the sports festival here. Security was, you know, was the fear of most people because of what Nigeria has been going through. But I must say that the Ogun State Governor, Prince Abiodun, did a very beautiful work. So far, since the commencement of the National Sports Festival, there has not been any ugly incidents of anything, you know, in the state. And of course, all the athletes, all the state officials, the journalists, all of them have really been very, very good. And of course, no tension, like they say in Nigeria. They are all camped in one university, Babcock University to be precise. That's where all the athletes are camped. And that means that Babcock University, you know, are on holiday. There is absolutely no fear of anything. And the facilities so far that we have seen, you know, have been of standard. And I think I commend the state for doing it well. One other thing, you know, perhaps that will be of a worry to us is how far they are going to maintain. Maintenance has always been the problem in Nigeria. But so far, so good with what we have seen out here in Ogun State, Neto.
And talking about maintenance, Sir Ubani, I'm thinking that the MKO Abiola International Stadium that's going to host the men and the women's finals of this National Sports Festival will be maintained, because when we talk to Chief Tonoboko Kowa, the president of the Athletics Federation of Nigeria, you know, they mentioned together with the inspection team that came from the Confederation of African Athletics that they were happy with that facility, and with the under 20, under 18 and under 20 Africa Athletics Championships coming up in July, I'm certain for this period of time we're going to see a lot of maintenance building up to that event. Let's just hope that it does not just become a once-off scenario where they are maintaining because there's another continental event that's coming up, but they maintain for life so that these facilities can carry upcoming future stars of this continent.
Yes, Neto, that's exactly what we wish here. And I think that Ogun State government have demonstrated that before now. The MKO Abiola Stadium, you know, it used to be known as MKO Abiola Stadium. But the government, after immense facilities, upgrade of facilities, modern facilities, an Olympic-sized swimming pool, they have upgraded and, of course, taken so many things into the stadium. Now it has been renamed to MKO Abiola Complex. You know, so that means that he has so many other facilities, you know, inside the MKO Abiola Stadium. So I think that the government have demonstrated the will and, of course, shown what they would do with maintenance. If you remember, one of Nigeria's legends, Shegun Odegbami, is an ambassador of this state. And so many other athletes of reckoning also come from this state. Anthony Joshua, we know in boxing, is from this state, Ogun State. Palila Ogunkoya is from Ogun State, the record holder in the 400 meters women in Africa. And don't forget about the street star, Toby Amoson, the world record holder, is from Ogun State. So Ogun State has really been very fortunate in producing world stars, not just African stars. And of course, you know, while this sports festival is ongoing, we have seen the athletes, the legends, especially Shegun Odegbami, you know, coming out here, you know, playing his role, being a role model to some of the athletes. And of course, he also spoke to us and we talked about the maintenance. And he says, now that the government has deemed it fit to appoint some of these renowned stars as role models, as ambassadors of the state, that they are not going to relent in their efforts in ensuring that these facilities are top-notch. And that's exactly why I think that, you know, the president of Athletics Federation of Nigeria and that of Africa, Tonobok Okowa, and the rest have decided that they will be taking a lot of competitions to Ogun State because, Neto, I can confirm to you that the tracks that are laid there, are very, very beautiful. And of course, I tested it myself, being a former runner, and I must confess that everything is superb, for athletics that is going to take place in that place. And indeed, the swimming and so many other facilities that have been, recently added into the MKO Abiola complex.
Tony Robani, our legendary correspondent, West Africa's finest, based in Lagos, Nigeria, fueling us up with the latest in Nigerian sport. So, Bani, before I let you go, anything of paramount significance that you would like to table?
Yeah, Neto, I watched the Federal Capital Territory, pulled off a dramatic 21-19 victory over Delta State in the, I think, the most thrilling encounter of the men's handball quarterfinals at the ongoing National Sports Festival in Ogun State. It was Paul Verkin, Neto, and, the Federal Capital Territory went the distance, ending 17-17. And indeed, the crowd were just cheering, roaring, for anybody that is going to finish. The game was a tale of two halves with Delta holding a slim 11-9 lead at the break. However, the Federal Capital Territory fought back valiantly in the second half to force extra time and ultimately showed greater composure to seal the win, booking a place in the semifinals. And so also Ogun State delighted the home crowd with a convincing 29-21 win over Niger, dominating from the start with a 14-8 lead at halftime and maintaining their grip in the second half. And the defending champions, Edo State, you have to trust them, when it comes to handball, they led 2015 victory over Sokoto with a narrow 8-6 lead at halftime. Edo's experience, told in the closing stages as a shutout, a resilient Sokoto side. Neto, from that, to so many other sports that I've watched here, I think there are talents. Talents are bound in Africa. And I'm just saying it, for the opportune time. The problem is getting these talents together, getting to nurture them, to future stars. From what I've seen here, it beats me, that sometimes I feel that some talents that will, go on to become superstars might not be noticed, because, like they say, the field is too many, for those who are recording or those who are in charge, to get these people to be noticed and, of course, to mold them into superstars. There are some people, some matches that you watch, even in boxing, in taekwondo, in so many other sports, you just see them. Even if they were beaten Neto, you would definitely agree that if this person is guided well, this person will definitely go far in that sport. I do not know how this is going to be realized because what I've seen, I marvel at the lot of talent that I've seen at the ongoing Gateway Games National Sports Festival here in Ogun State.
Tony Robani, our legendary correspondent from West Africa in Lagos, Nigeria, bringing us up to speed with regards to the latest in Nigerian sport. So, Bani, always an awesome pleasure talking sports in Nigeria with you. Thank you so much. Have a good afternoon further.
Thank you so much, Neto, for your awesome knowledge about sports, not just only in Nigeria, but across the length and breadth of Africa and indeed that of the world. It's always my pleasure, talking with you.
Thank you so much. That's Tony Robani, all the way from Lagos, Nigeria, talking to us on Africa at Play. We're now going to have a conversation with the legend of football, that is Sbusiso Wiseman Zuma, after this short break.
That speaks to Africa in its own voices. English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa.
Nick, this is Africa at Play. If you have just joined us, a very warm welcome to Africa at Play. We're now entering into a conversation of our Legends Corner with one of the greats in South African football who's not only played in South Africa but also played in different parts of the world. I'm talking about Sibusiso Wiseman Zuma, who was born on the 23rd of June 1975, a South African former professional footballer who played as a forward or midfielder, also forward known as a striker, but also played as an attacking midfielder and right winger. And he played for a number of teams. His place of birth is Durban, South Africa. He played for African Wanderers in 1995 to 1998 and also played for Orlando Pirates as Mnyama Ngengane in 1998 to the year 2000. Also played for FC Copenhagen from Denmark from the year 2000 to 2005 and made a way to Germany for Amina Bielefeld, that was playing in the German Bundesliga at the time from 2005 to 2008, and also had a stint at Mamelodi Sundowns 2008 to 2009 and also played for Vasco da Gama and North Island. So he's been around. He's worn different jerseys. Let's now welcome him to Africa at Play. Sibusiso Zuma, good afternoon and welcome to Africa at Play.
Thank you, Neto, for having me.
Yeah, it's good to have you for an awesome conversation. I mean, I grew up looking at you doing what you do the most, whether you were playing as an attacking midfielder or playing as a striker, but you were just marvelous on the field of play. Let's take it back to Sibu Zuma as a young boy. What triggered your interest into football?
My family. My father owned a very small team on the region where I was born. So I grew up around a lot of players that will come home. Usually, even the team meetings were held at my place, my family house. So growing up, I remember, I think about age 10, 11, I could even see the formation now because I used to be in the meetings as well, you know, for the team. So I was a football student from a very early age. So I think that was my advantage, that my father really loved football.
What relationship did you have with your father? Was he one of those fathers who would say, "Uzodlala ibhola," and you just had to play?
No. He gave me space. He told me that when I'm ready, he can help me with everything that I needed. Because I knew that him and his brothers were really good players. So I used to speak to him when I'm not sure about things, and he will help me. So he was one of the people that made Sibusiso.
When you still played at African Wanderers, you were a hot property, always on the headlines because of the big guns of South African football. They just wanted to sign Sibusiso Zuma to come and assist them to win more matches, and Orlando Pirates made it first ahead of many other big guns that wanted to sign you. What do you remember about playing for African Wanderers?
Just in the beginning, just having a lot of fun. We had a very good quality group of young players, balanced with a little bit of experience. And I mean, the game was football. You know, we just wanted to show. We understood where we were because we played in the Vela League, which is the league under our Premier League here in South Africa. So we had to qualify for the Premier League in South Africa. So we wanted to show when we got there that we were not there to add numbers, but to bring a lot of quality. So I had guys with me like Siyabonga Nomvete who we played together for the national team. I had Phumlani Mkhize who we played for Pirates after Wanderers. But there was a lot of quality young players who wanted to show their talent from KZN, the region where we're from.
If you have just joined us, a warm welcome to Africa at Play, the continent's best sport and music destination. We're talking to one of the great footballers of his playing days, Sibusiso Zuma, who got to play for quite a number of teams, including African Wanderers, Orlando Pirates, FC Copenhagen, Amina Bielefeld in Europe, in Germany, but also played for Mamelodi Sundowns, Vasco da Gama, and SuperSport United. Sbu, talk to us about life at Orlando Pirates. How was it?
It was amazing. It was amazing. I grew up supporting Kaizer Chiefs because of my father. But I made a decision of going and playing for Pirates because of the kind of football they were playing at the time. They were really good to watch, especially with counter-attacks, and I was a player who uses speed a lot. So going there was really amazing. A young boy from Durban going to play, especially I went to Pirates after they won that Champions League. So I found all the legends there. Guys who put us on the map. So it was really amazing from the beginning, from the start, to learn from guys who've been around, guys who were well known in Africa at the moment, at that time. So it was really a huge learning process for me.
How do you describe a derby when you grew up supporting Chiefs because of the influence of your father, but now wearing the jersey of the opposition, and when it's the derby moment, unfortunately, you've got to beat this team that you grew up supporting?
Well, that was the point. The derby is huge here in South Africa, so every time when we played against Kaizer Chiefs, I really wanted to beat them because they were the team that I wanted to show my talent, especially against. I grew up supporting them, so facing them was like every time I wanted to show them how talented I was, you know, and especially with the side of my family as well, you know, everyone supported Kaizer Chiefs at home. So, but as soon as I joined Orlando Pirates, the whole family switched into Pirate supporters.
I've calculated 40 goals that you scored in Denmark for FC Copenhagen. You must have had a good time there.
Amazing time. Being international, learning, being able to come back and help the national team with what I've learned in Europe was a huge thing for me, growing up as a student. I grew up watching Italian football and the Bundesliga. I grew up watching strikers like Ravanelli and Battistuta. So getting an opportunity of going overseas and playing there and winning a championship a couple of times for the fans. They have an amazing fan base in Denmark. So it was really amazing, an eye-opener, because now we've opened windows for the guys, for our countrymen, the young boys who want to go overseas and take it further, where we ended. So it's really amazing, and I'm honored to have represented that team and the people of Denmark. But then again, now they know about South Africa and what kind of talent we have in Africa.
Having grown up watching big leagues like the Bundesliga is one of them, and later on you then went to play for Arminia Bielefeld. Did you see it coming? Was it a dream come true?
I made the decision as well there because I've played for 5 years in Denmark, so I needed a challenge. I asked one of my teammates that I was playing with at the time, Peter Nielsen, who have played in Germany. He told me that there will be a very good challenge because of the physical part of the game in Germany. So I was that type of a player who wanted big challenges. So that was the reason I went to Germany, and it was a huge learning experience as well.
If you have just joined us, we are talking to one of the great footballers of his playing days, Sibusiso Rizuma, who got to play for a number of teams, including African Wanderers, Orlando Pirates, FC Copenhagen in Denmark, and Arminia Bielefeld in Germany Bundesliga, but also played for a moment at Mamelodi Sundowns, Vasco da Gama, and SuperSport United. Sbu, let's talk about your Bafana days. How was it moving from a club jersey to the national team jersey?
When I was overseas, it was difficult because there was a lot of traveling involved. But anytime I had to represent South Africa, it was something that was really easy for me because that was the reason I wanted to play football was to play for my country. So, playing for over 10 years for South Africa, then there is another thing, because I got an opportunity of playing with a lot of amazing South African talent from all over South Africa, guys from Cape Town, East London, KZN, where I'm from, going around, Africa for the qualifiers, the experience, trying to win games, making friends, from other, places like Ghana. Has been a trip. This is what football is all about, and I've enjoyed every second of it.
And having played for, teams, around 8 of them in professional football, but also the national team as well, do you have like a top 3 of games that you've played to date where you would say my game during the Bafana days was this one, or my game at FC Copenhagen or Arminia Bielefeld or even Orlando Pirates was this one? Do you have a top 3?
I would say there is a game that was played in Copenhagen June 10th, 2001, where I scored an overhead kick. We were winning our first championship as a group of guys of 2001. That was the game for me in Denmark, and they still talk about it this day. So that's the game in Denmark. And then for Orlando Pirates, I think it's the 3rd game after I joined Orlando Pirates. We played Bloemfontein Celtics in Bloemfontein. I scored a hat-trick. I think that was the game that made Orlando Pirates fans to always stand up every time when I get the ball. So a very important game as well. For South Africa, we played Congo in KZN. And, every game that I've played for Bafana Bafana in KZN is the best game for me because I always score a lot of goals. So we played Congo in Durban. I think I scored 2 goals on that game, and I was man of the match. So I really had a very good game. Those are my top 3.
Exciting indeed. And so on the 23rd of June, you will be turning 50, half a century. What are the plans of celebration?
This one is going to be huge. 50 is huge. So I'm going to make sure that I have all my close friends. I have my family. I have my kids.
What do you get up to when not involved in football?
I'm very close to my daughters, so I make sure that I spend time with them. Other than that, I still go to gym almost every day, and then I have an academy that I run here in South Africa as well. So I'm still involved in football. So it doesn't matter when you are retired. Football will always call you back.
There's no retirement in football. You hang up the boots temporarily to wear them again as a legend.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about your academy. What is it called? Where is it based? Any success stories of players that came out of the academy that made it to other elite levels?
We are still young. We are still new. We are connected to FC Copenhagen. We haven't had players going that side, but there is a big number that is going to move end of June next month. So we are very excited about that. But the name of the academy is Reloaded from Sibusiso Zuma Legacy. We try to raise these boys well. We're based in Joburg, in Sandton.
Did you end up falling in love with a favorite dish while you were in Germany for Amina Bielefeld and another one in Denmark while you were with Copenhagen?
Well, I would say in Denmark, not really dishes, but I would say their sweets, candy, was really amazing. I think they make the best candy in the world. And then in Germany, there was this dessert that I really loved. It was some sort of a rice dessert, very nice and healthy. I used to chow that thing every weekend, So those two were my.
Wow! Do you still have a sweet tooth?
I still have, man. I was in Denmark. I was in Copenhagen just a week ago. I came back with a lot of bags.
Wow. Wow, what an exciting conversation, Sibusiso Zuma. Thank you so much for talking to us on Africa at Play. All the best with the Reloaded Academy from Sibusiso Zuma Legacy, and all the best with your relationship with FC Copenhagen. Let's hope that talent from South Africa will make it to Denmark and various parts of the world and represent South Africa and the African continent very well. Thank you so much for your contribution to football in South Africa and globally.
Thank you very much, Neto, for having me, man. And thanks, of course, to my fellow South Africans for the support that they've given us, not just Sibusiso Zuma, but even the guys that I've played with when we were with the national team, where we appreciate their support. Where they were filling up the stadiums, and we tried and did our best.
Great story indeed. Thank you so much. All the best to the football legend Sibusiso Zuma for talking to us on Africa at Play. All things to the game of football. A man who's been in this game from a tender age and made it to an elite level. Played in South Africa, played in Denmark, and played in Germany. In Denmark for FC Copenhagen and for Amina Bielefeld in the German Bundesliga. 16:25 Central African Time. Berita Tandolwe to This is Africa at Play. Astelel Siasha.
Weekends just got better. Only on Channel Africa.
Live every Saturday and Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. Central African Time.
More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other: Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other: Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other: Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices. English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows. In this episode of Channel Africa Conversations, Peter talks to Dr. Thulisile Buddha, an academic, author, and an expert in indigenous knowledge systems. Join us for a compelling discussion on preserving African languages and traditions in the digital era. Dr. Thulisile unpacks the role of educators, explorers, and how technologies like AI can support cultural preservation, and challenges us to rethink how we honor African heritage. You can find the episode on YouTube, SABC Plus, and on our website, channelafrica.co.za. This episode is a must-listen for educators, creators, and change makers across the continent. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Africa at Play with Neto and Neto Chemane.
16:32 Central African Time. If you have just joined us, a warm welcome to Africa at Play. We are live on DSTV Audio Bouquet Channel 802 or OpenView 628 if you are in South Africa. Alternatively, you can reach us from anywhere you are online on channelafrica.co.za. Also available on SABC Plus. If you have missed out on any of our conversations, please do visit our Channel Africa website, click on programs and search for Africa at Play. At the bottom right screen of Africa at Play, you can click on more and listen to those conversations when you have time to do so. Please do get in touch with us on our different social media platforms. On Instagram and X is at Channel Africa 1, and on Facebook the name of our station, Channel Africa. It's time for sports news. Kicking off with cricket news. Sai Sudarshan finds it surreal to be included in India's test squad for the team's tour of England next month and is ready to bat anywhere in the lineup. As India begins a fresh World Test Championship cycle with a 5-test series in England under new captain Shubman Gill, Sudarshan is likely to reinforce a top order depleted by the retirements of batting stalwarts Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma. Sudarshan's Gill's opening partner at Gujarat Titans and is the leading scorer in the ongoing Indian Premier League IPL. The 23-year-old opens for his state team but has batted in the middle order for Surrey in county cricket. In rugby news, Springbok head coach Rassie Erasmus believes the 2-day alignment camp in Cape Town was highly beneficial for all involved. The in-person sessions catered to local players, while players based abroad joined virtually. Erasmus and his assistant coaches delivered a series of presentations aimed at building cohesion and clarity ahead of the international season. He said he was particularly pleased to connect with emerging talent and stressed that the door remains open for other young players who have attended previous camps.
But overall, I think none of the players can say, they don't have even the younger guys that we just want to have a look at. Obviously, not all of them will play this year, and that was made quite clear. But just to get to know a few of the younger guys, obviously a few guys we didn't pick because we know them already and we know they know the way we want to play and what we're trying to do. So there will be guys outside this group who will also play still this year. But overall, I'll go back to the old cliche. I think, we're fairly happy with the way it went.
The players also participated in a series of Outfox virtual training sessions to with the new structures. The Boks coach outlined the program for the 2 days and provided insight into the key areas covered in the sessions.
Lots of guys, I think 36 in person, and then obviously a lot of the guys that's abroad and maybe injured, or a few guys that couldn't be here, even locally. So we had about 54 guys with all the coaches and all different departments getting a chance to share our plan and the way we want to operate, and it was mostly on-field stuff in the specific camp where we actually get to the rugby stuff now. but we know there's still franchise rugby to be played.
Among those involved in the camp were 8 uncapped players: Joano Augustus, Vincent Chiduka, Ntokozo Makaza, Renzo Duplessis, Nithling Foshi, Asenatin Tlabakanye, Marnas van der Merwe and Kobas Visem. Erasmus emphasized the importance of integrating younger players while maintaining the value and experience of the senior core. With the 2027 World Cup on the horizon, Erasmus said the blend of youth and experience is key to building sustainable success.
Yeah, we always hope that the guys are excited and that they do enjoy it, but it's also a bit new for some of the guys. But I guess you want the older guys to be as excited and not just look at this year, but look at where we are in the world currently and where we want to try and stay and where we want to be when the next World Cup's there, especially if the end of year tour, end of year there's a World Cup draw for the different pools and so on. So I think there's different reason to be excited. The younger guys or the newer guys, not all of them are young. There's some of the guys who's in the mid-20s who's here for the first time. But yeah, we hope to have everybody as excited as we are as a management team.
With just over a month to go before the opening match against the Barbarians in Cape Town, the first ever between the sides on South African soil, Erasmus said the energy in the camp was infectious. He praised the attitude of both the players and the technical team, adding that the preparations are well on track for what promises to be an exciting international season.
I think the nice thing about this is where we could do, the first virtual alignment camps and get-togethers and planning and all the stuff we've been doing, getting Felix back and, Tony in his second year. There's lots of things that we try to change and do differently. I think we're all very excited. Now the challenge is to go and put it onto the field. But yeah, it's nice to get to not always the planning, but actual rugby stuff. We did a lot of virtual sessions, when I say virtual, with computer programs and walkthroughs. Of course, we don't want to injured guy before the URC. We haven't been on a field.
The Springboks will kick off their international season on Saturday, the 28th of June, with a historic first-ever home clash against the Barbarians. That opener will set the tone for a busy calendar, which includes the Castle Lager incoming series, the Castle Lager Rugby Championship, and the traditional end-of-the-year tour in November. Still with rugby, South African Rugby CEO Rian Obelhoza says the Club World Cup will force South African teams to take the Invest Championship Cup seriously. EPCR Chairman Dominic McKay confirmed on Saturday that the inaugural edition of the Club World Cup would launch in 2028 with the support from all unions and both hemispheres. The 16 teams tournament will take place every 4 years and comprise the 8 championships quarterfinalists, the top 7 sides in Super Rugby and 1 Japanese club. There will be reportedly 4 pools for 4 teams, followed by the semi-finals and a final. According to ECPR, the Championship Cup playoffs will be elevated to the Club World Cup in a season which in the latter is played. In football news, African Clubs Association ACA Deputy Chairperson Jessica Mataun says the scheduling of fixtures on the continent remains a conundrum that the organization seeks to address with CAF in the coming weeks.
Oh, certainly. I think we as ACA see a number of things that we need to talk about and improve. I think one of the things is scheduling. I mean, the schedule is something that we need to talk very closely about. And also, I think it's important for us to start looking at whether the leagues in themselves are strong enough and what can be done to improve leagues on the continent. And then obviously club brands. How can brands really commercialize themselves a lot more and attract more sponsors? How can we cascade what's happening at CAF? And really empower our clubs in that regard. And then obviously the importance of infrastructure and access to resources, and most importantly the development of our talent. At the end of the day, we want to be developing our footballers, girls and boys, and making sure that they have access to the game.
Mataung adds that ACA believe they will have the ear of the CAF president Patrice Motsepe given his background in club football.
I think it's also very good that CAF has a leader in Patrice Motsepe who's had a club, who understands the challenges and the costs of running a club and the costs of being in tournaments of this nature. And the fact that CAF has come in and increased the prize money by 100%, I mean, that in itself is a lot. But also the fact that for the prelims, clubs are receiving $50,000 US. That makes a difference in terms of being able to prepare and being able to participate. And also, I think what I'm excited about are the commercial rights that clubs can speak to CAF about for their own sponsors to be able to now make it easier for them to participate in this tournament.
Motaung wants to build on the milestones CAF has achieved since Motsepe took over, one of them being the broadcast element.
Television has played a key role. You can see the broadcasters now who have come on board. It's giving access to a broader support base, but it's also it's marketing African football, which is very, very important for us, which allows us to get the investment, which allows our talent to be scouted as well. So broadcast has played a key role, and I think CAF has done a great job working with the broadcasters. And I'm excited by the initiatives of media officers and training people behind the scenes as well, because not only does it help at a national level, but it also helps for the leagues on the ground to ensure that the product at a league level is also good.
With CAF unveiling a new Champions League trophy this week, Motaung is confident that this is proof yet again of the organization's commitment.
For me, it just shows CAF's commitment as well as Total Energy's commitment to the game and to club football. You know, a very important tournament for club football and for clubs on the continent. And I think now clubs know that they've got something new and inspirational to play for. You know, a beautiful trophy that they want to put their club names on.
In tennis news, Britain's Jack Draper is a title threat at the French Open, but could have been even bigger chance of landing a Grand Slam title at Wimbledon, according to American great John McEnroe. The 23-year-old Londoner has arguably been the standout player of the season so far, winning the Indian Wells title, reaching the final in Madrid and rising to world number 5. Left-hander Draper has never won a match at Roland Garros, but such has been his improvement that 7-time Grand Slam champion McEnroe reckons he could make a deep run in Paris. In the meantime, former US Open champion Emma Raducanu has overcome her phobia of needles in a bid to relieve a back injury ahead of a first-round match against China's Wang Qinyu at the French Open tomorrow. The 22-year-old suffered a back spasm at the Strasbourg Grand Prix earlier this week and had faced a similar problem before this year's Australian Open. Raducanu said dry needling and heat therapy have helped relieve it. The Briton reached the second round in her last round of Roland Garros appearance 3 years ago before undergoing wrist and ankle surgeries in 2023. She has steadily climbed back into the world's top 50 after slipping out of the top 300 last year. In athletics news, the 4th edition of the Diamond League Series is underway right now at the Moroccan city of Rabat. There is a top field of African athletes in action, with the men's 100 meters boasting 5 sprinters in the start list. Our UK-based sports correspondent, Keshom Sajinyati, takes a thorough list of some of the leading athletes in action today.
The men's 100 meters is definitely one of the headline events. South Africa's Akani Simbine is the quickest man on the start list with a season's world leading time of 9.82 seconds. He is followed by Letsile Tebogo of Botswana in 9.86 seconds. The race, including American champion Fred Kelly, is expected to be frighteningly intense. African record holder Ferdinand Omanyala of Kenya, Eseme Emmanuel of Cameroon, and Sean Maswanganyi of South Africa complete the dominant list of 5 top African athletes against 4 others from elsewhere. The men's 200 meters has the world 400 meters record holder Wade van Niekerk of South Africa and his compatriot Benjamin Richardson in strong contention for the top prize. The women's 100-meter hurdles, who else other than the world record holder Tobi Amusani of Nigeria? She is the overwhelming favorite to beat the rest. Women's 800 meters look no further than Tsigi Tuguma of Ethiopia, Prudence Sehodiso of South Africa, and Nolene Yariko of Benin. Big names in the 800 meters main event is Wycliffe Kinyamali of Kenya and Tsepiso Masalela of Botswana, who is fresh from winning the Diamond League meeting in Doha. The other African athletes at this prestigious Diamond League event in Morocco include the Olympic medalist Bayapon Dori of Botswana, his fellow countryman Skochi Liyungu in the 400 meters, and Zakiti Nene of South Africa in the same event. In the men's 1500 meters, there is a strong Kenyan pair of Brian Coleman and Vincent Ketal. And lastly, but not least, South Africa's Zine van der Walt compete in the women's 400-meter hurdles. Kesho Mnyati for Africa at Play.
Finally, in basketball news, Anthony Edwards had 30 points, 9 rebounds and 6 assists in just 3 quarters to lead the re-energized Minnesota Timberwolves in a 143-101 victory over Oklahoma City on Saturday night in Game 3 of the Western Conference Finals that cut at Thunder's lead in the series 2-1. Julius Randle added 24 points and rookie Terrence Shannon Jr. had 15 points in 13 minutes to highlight a big boost from the bench of the Wolves, who caused all kinds of cracks in the Thunder's NBA best defense after struggling to solve it in the 2 lopsided losses on the road. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had just 14 points on 4 for 13 shooting with 4 turnovers, subbed with a 30-point deficit at 4.25 to go in the third quarter, as Thunder coach Mark Denault considered on a tight night when his team was never close than 22 points after early in the second quarter. Game 4 is in Minneapolis tomorrow night. We take a short break. When we come back, we will wrap up Africa at Play right here on Channel Africa from an African perspective. And of course, we're still going to find out what's coming up on Mix Vibration.
You heard something you like on Channel Africa, and you would like to hear it again. Worry not, we've got your back. Just go to our website, www.channelafrica.co.za, and look for our podcast.
Zilipendwa na Abedi Jean de la Croix.
Uzuri na ukubwa wa kazi yako unatokana na nini?
Kwanza kabisa ni kujifunza vitu mbalimbali, lakini pia kuvaa uhalisia wa jamii kile inachopitia, kujifunza vitu vipya, lakini pia kufanya mazoezi na kumshirikisha Mungu katika career yangu ya muziki.
Bila shaka. Je, management na wadhamini vile vile wana nafasi kubwa au wana nafasi gani katika mafanikio yako kikazi?
Niseme labda wana 99% katika mafanikio ya muziki wangu, management au mabosi wangu.
Umewahi pia kupokea salamu za pongezi au ukosoaji kuhusiana na muziki wako?
Nilishapokea nyingi sana kutoka sehemu mbalimbali, DRC, Tanzania na East Africa nzima kwa jumla.
Tuzungumzie kuhusu ukosoaji sasa. Unajisikia pale unapokosolewa?
Najisikia vizuri sana. Unajua, usipokosolewa ina maana wewe sio binadamu wa kawaida, kwa sababu asiyekosolewa pekee ni Mungu.
Zilipendwa kila Jumamosi kuanzia saa 12 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati hadi saa 1 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati.
Live every Saturday and Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. Central African Time.
16:48 Central African Time. This is Africa at Play. Thank you for choosing Africa's number one, Africa at Play, as Delil Siashaya. A warm welcome if you have just joined us. Let's welcome to Africa at Play our correspondent based in the United Kingdom, Kesham Sajinyati, originally from Southern Africa in Zimbabwe. Saji, good afternoon and welcome to Africa at Play. Happy Africa Day.
Thank you, Neto. I'm so thrilled. I'm so happy that last week's program you managed to have the crew from the Confederation of Athletics who you interviewed, and that included the president of the Confederation of African Athletics, Malboum Kalkaba Malboum, Hamad Kalkaba Malboum. I think it was a good thing, because there is a tendency that sometimes we tend to struggle to get to interview these people. But I'm happy that Africa at Play, Channel Africa, managed to do it last week. That was excellent, I should say that.
Thank you so much, Sergey. It goes to show that we are indeed driven by passion, and we want these presidents to come and talk to us on Africa at Play, because we've got so many questions for them. Could be good homeworks that will assist them going back to the offices to know exactly what issues to address, because the African continent, when talking sport, is still not where it's supposed to be or where it is desired to be. But with these conversations, we remain confident that good things and good times will come. Let's get on to it. So, G, let's talk briefly about today's Diamond League in Morocco, the fourth leg. Your thoughts?
Yes, there is a big matchup in the men's 100 meters. Everybody is thinking, who is the best on the African continent? South Africa's Akani has been a world fastest this year. Letsile Oho is second fastest. Now, all the two runners, they're from the Southern African region, so people want to know who is the best. Apart from the two, there is Ferdinand Omanyala of Kenya, who is actually the African record holder. So this is a big, big clash. And also interesting enough is that there are 5 top African athletes competing in this sprint event. That is quite exciting. So we'll wait to see who is going to win this one. There's another interesting matchup in the 800 meters where Getowai Haigura and Chepiso Masela of Botswana, they are competing, and they will meet one top athlete from Kenya, Emmanuel Wanyoni. It will be very exciting indeed. In the 100-meter hurdles, as I've said earlier on, Toby Amsani is competing. She's a big favorite. Apart from that, there are other leading athletes who are in contention. The only other thing which the Moroccans may not be too interested is that there isn't the men's 3,000 meters steeplechase, because if there was, their top athlete, Sofiani El Bakhali, will be taking part, but it is not included in this particular Diamond League event. So, yeah, that's a bit of a drawback, because every time when he competes, he's actually a crowd puller in Morocco.
And Saji, you are off to Stockholm Marathon in Sweden tonight, taking place on Saturday, the 31st of May. What encouraged you to attend this one?
Yes, I'm going to attend the Adidas Stockholm Marathon in Sweden, particularly to support a runner. He's a medical doctor from Zimbabwe, but based in Namibia. He's running for a charity which is trying to raise funds for people in a community somewhere in Matabeleland South Province, Gwanda in particular, to raise funds to drill bores so that they can get clean water for themselves and their livestock. So it's actually an encouraging that this doctor, the medical doctor, volunteered to do this. He's quite an enthusiastic distance runner who has been competing in a number of events, particularly in ultra marathons and trail running as well. And if we can all imagine that after running the Stockholm Marathon, within a space of 7 days, he comes back to Namibia and South Africa, and he will compete in the Comrades 89-kilometer ultra marathon, which is a really tough feat indeed, but he says he's going to do it. Keleto Nyati, I think he talked to me just today. Next week, he says he will be available to talk to us on Africa at Play.
Kesham Sajinyati, our correspondent originally from Southern Africa, Zimbabwe, currently based in the United Kingdom, and is traveling to the Stockholm Marathon in Sweden tonight to support a doctor who's running for a good cause, who is originally from Zimbabwe. And it goes to show that as Africans, if we can be there and stop everything to support one another, we are undoubtedly going to rise by lifting others. Sajid, thank you so much for talking to us on Africa at Play. Have a good afternoon. Have a good trip to Sweden.
Yes, I hope so. So next week I'll be there with some running news, and obviously by that time I would have seen some other top African athletes who will be taking part in that marathon. And obviously I'm sure they will be dominant like they do most of the times. Thank you, Neto.
Thank you, Sergi. 16:55 Central African Time. It's just amazing how 3 hours or 180 minutes of sport and music can run so quick. It is that time where we've got to say our goodbye. It doesn't matter how much we love what we do, but we've got to make way for others. Mix Vibration coming your way. And of course, you can enjoy that episode coming when Africa at Play says goodbye. A big thank you to my producer, Andisiwe Fagimalu Zobona Mali, and to the audiovisuals team, Sebenzile Msindo, together with Bonolo Chwane, and our sound engineer, Mondli Mutambo. My name is Neto, Neto Chemane. Hosiati, Konyagazi, Mumkajwa, Pandle Kunjani, Moyani, Voko Tendele. Africa at Play, as the Lilisia Shire. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
On Channel Africa, across borders, across time zones, on air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palisa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful